All right, welcome to the Sit Rep. According to research that we've conducted, you guys are extremely interested on whether VA cops are real police. Well, today we're going to find out. We're very lucky to have two distinguished officers from the Providence VA Medical Center, Officer Scott McGregor and Officer Josh Morris. And each of them bring a different perspective. Officer McGregor comes from the civilian side of the house, and Officer Morris comes from the military. So we'll be able to answer all your questions and provide the information you guys are looking for. So gentlemen, let's jump right into it. Are VA police real cops?
I defer to Scott.
Yes, absolutely. We are. We have full police powers. We go to an academy, a 10-week academy over at LATC in Little Rock, Arkansas. And we're fully credentialed. Full police powers while on federal property, on VA property. Yes.
So so you guys are real law enforcement, and I see you carry firearms and such. So are you able to then detain or even arrest people if depending on what's going on the federal property?
Yes, absolutely. We do issue misdemeanor summonses to people that violate the law. We can detain people just like regular law enforcement. We are law enforcement. We also try and educate a lot of people on federal property. Mm-hmm. There are laws that on federal property that apply to the VA and don't apply elsewhere, say in the city of Providence, because we're located in the city of Providence. So we're there as an educational tool, also as a law enforcement tool.
I think also, that being said, because it's federal property, a lot of people don't understand that there's the same rules that apply on most military installations apply also on the VA hospital, i.e. No weapons, no knives, no firearms, no lighters, or anything that can
Can't
explode.
smoke marijuana like you can on the corner over there.
Exactly. So once you cross through that threshold, those gates onto VA property, it is a federal installation. So therefore, they are held liable to federal crimes. So
I guess my point is, and obviously you guys have and we'll get into your experiences before you came to the VA and how that, got you here. But I mean, do you have a lot of issues? I mean, are most people just literally just looking to come on, do their business, go to their appointments, and then head home? Do you have, major issues, or? I
would say we don't have major issues like say here we're here in Providence. So there's obviously a high crime rate within the area surrounding us. We act more as a deterrent for that civilian crime. But on property, when it comes to veterans and staff or whatnot, you'll have your occasional parking violations or whatnot. But we are dealing with a suicide epidemic. Okay. We are dealing with an opioid epidemic. So our goal is to combat that, not only with our presence, but we're a part of the patient care team while we're here. Okay. One of our pillars that we stand on is veteran-centered policing. So our focus is on the veteran. So while we're here on property, yes, we're here to educate and enforce the law, but we're also here to partner with the staff to help combat these crises that are happening to these veterans.
Well, you brought up a really interesting point, and that is patient-centered care. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's kind of the main pillar, the mantra of the VA. Mm-hmm. So how do you guys interact? I mean, you talked about it a little bit with, trying to help prevent suicide prevention and other issues. How do you guys typically, though, interact on a daily basis, say in the halls or, dealing with veterans? How do you help the team do that veteran-centered care?
So Officer McGregor and I actually just had a conversation before we came to this interview, and we were discussing about how if someone wanted to quit smoking, you couldn't just flat out quit, because thinking of how long it would take for that to happen, the process of it would be overwhelming. But moment to moment is how you quit. And I believe when it comes to combating the suicide epidemic, when it comes to battling the opioid epidemic, moment to moment, the interactions that we have daily with these veterans are important. I think it's good for us to be around them so that they can see us partnering with them. Our goal is, like I said, education above all. We want them to know that we're there for them. We're not there to be a hindrance to their care, but to be an advocate for it.
Awesome. That's great.
And to add to that, too, the relationships that we build with the employees and the veterans day in and day out. We see them come in and day out. We get to know them by their names, get to know what issues they're dealing with. And by building these relationships between the employees and the veterans, if a veteran comes in crisis, whether it's minor or major, we can help them. We know what other contacts, what contacts we can speak to and have them get in contact with, so we can address whatever problems that they come in with. It's really, that's what surprised me the most on this job was and different from, I guess you could compare it to community policing.
Okay.
You're trying to get to the root of the problem. You're not just trying to put a Band-Aid on the problem. You're trying to solve the problem for the veteran and make that transition into the VA as smooth as possible. And so
I guess what I'm hearing is like you guys are kind of like the first level of patient care. I mean, you're probably interacting with veterans in the parking garage, in the parking lots. I mean, so typically some of the first VA employees they may see or come into contact with is you guys.
Correct.
You know, as they're coming onto the property and then coming into the facility. So that's a big responsibility. So thinking about that, you touched on it a little bit when you talked about the academy. What kind of training do you have to go through? I know both of you came from a policing background, whether it be in the military or in civilian sector. What's different about the VA's academy, and what kind of training do you have to get, you know, in conjunction with normal policing type training?
For me, the difference was the veteran-centered policing. That's what they stress on the most. That was the major difference for me, and how to help the veteran when he comes in, how to build those relationships, like I said earlier. And really guide that veteran into an area of the hospital that he needs to go to, and dealing with veterans in crisis. That's probably one of the biggest things in the police academy down there is you're dealing with a lot of combat veterans nowadays, more so probably than in the past, and a lot of them are in crisis and they just need a little bit of guidance and a little bit of understanding, and usually they respect the uniform just like we respect, and most veterans have the utmost respect for anyone in uniform. And if you give them that respect, then you can pretty much guide them where they need to go and get them the help that they need.
Okay.
I think something that Scott mentioned earlier, or Officer McGregor mentioned earlier, is knowing your house. When you know what tools you have available, while yes, we go to the academy and they teach us how to use everything in our tool belt, i.e. Weapons training, non-lethal force, unarmed self-defense. When you know your house, when you know what's available to you, whether it's the patient advocate, mental health staff, emergency room staff, when you know what you have available for the veteran and you point them to it, I think that's the most important thing you can do. De-escalation, above all, is our number one tool. What we not only know, but the words that we use.
Okay. Unfortunately, though, we live in crazy times. So I'm assuming you guys get all kinds of training because, unfortunately, federal facilities can be targets, whether it be domestic terrorism or international terrorism. How does that play into your day-to-day? And you know, do you guys have like a rapid reaction force, that kind of thing, if something happens? And you know what? You're the first level of defense of this facility if, God forbid, something was to happen. So what do you need to do? How does it tie in locally or with state police and things like that?
Yeah, well, part of our goal is to forge good relationships with state, local, and federal authorities in the area. So if there is something serious that happens, that we have an open communication and help from outside agencies. Our law enforcement partners are in and around the VA. But we also train 4 times. We train firearms training 4 times a year, and we also have active shooter training inside the hospital. We have two corporals that are training officers, and they're constantly training with the staff, with us on any kind of active shooter threat and and how we need to react to that. We also have tools at our disposal. We have, I'm not sure if I can say
probably
this.
Don't really want to. You don't need to get into details.
Okay. Yeah. But we do have
all the bells and whistles that everybody needs to have in today's environment.
I don't.
And you touched on a good point. So my next question was going to be, okay, you graduate the academy, you come on board, you're working. How, besides the firearms training, how much other training do you guys do on an annual basis?
So we're all trained on basic lifesaver. Okay. We have to do that annually, just like every other staff member, to be able to be the first responder on scene, whether it's in a parking lot, at a bus stop. Some VAs have domiciliaries or whatnot, to be able to provide that life-saving tactic at that moment. We also are trained on Narcan due to the opioid epidemic, to be able to administer that because seconds count
Sure.
in those situations and in those crises.
So understanding training then, how is the training here different than what you experienced either as a military policeman or as a Providence policeman before you came on board?
Well, in comparison, Providence would only have firearms training once a year versus the VA 4 times a year. And there is constant in-service training through TMS and through our training corporals with active shooter training. So I would say the training here is exponentially more than what an officer would receive on the Providence Police Department.
Okay.
Yes.
And then military-wise, I would say that we are trained in a vast majority of things because we would encounter, whether it's downrange or in a garrison environment, or even in term of resettlement within detention operations, whether working in a prison or whatnot. We would train in a whole variety of different things, whereas here it's more focused on not only the veterans, but on what our tactics would be here in the hospital. So it's a lot more condensed and a lot more focused on just the hospital.
Just this mission here.
Yes, sir.
So I guess that, kind of circling back then, a lot of people are going to ask, okay, it's a hospital. Why are there police? Why do we need to have a police force at a medical facility?
Well, because we deal with veterans, understanding their quirks, what makes them tick, maybe even some of the things that they're going through, helps us to be better equipped to handle them in their situations. I believe Officer McGregor can speak more to this, but as a regular municipality would show up on scene, they would look at what the crime is and they would address the crime. Whereas here we're looking to address the root of the problem, the root of the issue, whether it's mental health issues, substance abuse issues, or maybe there's something else that's going on within that veteran's life. We're there to partner with them and with the staff to help them get on track to be better, to get better, especially if they want to.
Okay. I think then what I'm hearing then is it's a different population
Yes, sir.
that are coming to a VA medical facility than, say, to a standard in-town facility.
Yes, sir.
And obviously, veterans bring a whole different myriad of issues with them that that he or she may have. So, I mean, and the staff is only equipped so much to deal with issues. And so if issues do escalate beyond the capabilities of the staff, there needs to be other resources here. And that's what you guys are, as far as having the ability to de-escalate or whatever needs to be done. I think that's an important point that people need to understand is, it is a different population with different needs and different backgrounds and different life experiences. And sometimes things can go haywire for that population, and it's important to have you guys here, as you talked about, the veteran care, and that everybody's pointed in the same direction to take care of our veterans.
Yes, sir.
It goes both ways, the mental health staff, the medical staff will lean on us just as much as we'll lean on the mental health and the medical staff.
Yeah.
It's a complete team effort when it comes to the VA, and they do a really good job of it, the medical and the mental health aspect of it, along with the homeless section we have here. They do an outstanding job in trying to get shelter and trying to get homes for these veterans that come in. So we're helping veterans in a lot of different aspects of their life that they need help in, and that's what the values of the VA are. Whatever a veteran needs when they come in, we'll find a way to get them what they need if they're willing.
So I guess what I'm hearing then with patient-centered care, you talked about this a little bit, Officer McGregor. You guys can develop a relationship with a patient, with a veteran and their family that probably you don't get as a regular civilian policeman in town. You respond to a call, you leave. Here, you can see that veteran consistently, I'm assuming, and understand where they're going and how they're progressing through their care.
Right. For example, on Providence, we would answer almost 200,000 calls a year. So you can grasp how much time we would actually spend on a call try, we would try and solve it and put a Band-Aid on things in the civilian world in a large city like Providence. But when you work at the VA, you talk to the veterans every day. You get to know their names, their first and last names, and they stop and they talk to you. And you develop these relationships, and it's very rewarding to follow the problems that these veterans have through, and to get an update from them every day, because they love to talk to you, and they love to tell stories, and you sit there and listen to their stories, and it's fascinating, and you develop great relationships with both the veterans and the staff, and that's the one thing I did not have on. I had it on a smaller scale, on a post scale, and you got to know some of your people on your post, but you're in a hospital every day dealing with veterans every day, and it's extremely rewarding to develop. Like I said, I know I keep saying relationships, but that's what they are. They become relationships, and you really care about them, without a doubt.
I think what Officer McGregor is also saying, it's you become invested in the veteran. You want to see them come to fruition when it comes to their care, when it comes to their health, when it comes to their mental stability, and you start to just care for them. You see the same people over and over again, and maybe they stumble, maybe they fall, but our job is to be there with them, to say that you can keep going and that you're going to make it. And we've seen success story after success story of veterans coming through the system and making it. And sometimes, like Officer McGregor said, they just need a push in the right direction, or to be guided in the right department or to the right person. And as you get to know the staff members and you build a relationship and the rapport with them, you in turn are gaining more ground for the veteran. Really.
Right.
Yeah.
We've kind of touched on it a little bit, but if you guys would just kind of describe, what are your daily duties? You show up here, I'm assuming you come on duty, and what's a typical day look like for you guys?
Well, obviously we come in, we check in, we have a roll call where we find out what's been going on the previous shift, if there's any patients or anything we need to know about, and we have a mobile patrol that drives around the campus. I can only speak to the Providence campus, but we have a pretty large campus here with quite a few buildings. We have research facilities. We have a homeless shelter that's open during the day. We have a women's shelter. We have several buildings. So we do have a mobile patrol here. And then we have an interior patrol, and we walk around. There's certain areas of the hospital we have to routinely check, but it's a lot about interaction and speaking to. We'll stand at the door and talk to the veterans when they come in and interact with them, and you get to know them on a first name basis. And a lot of times they just want to talk. They want to tell you about their experiences overseas, as you said earlier. They love talking about that, and this facility is great as far as veterans interacting with other veterans. They love to come here, not only for care, but to talk to each other. They'll be wearing their hats, their shirts, or where they were from, where they served, and they love interacting with each other. So it's not only a place where they get care, but it's a place where it's to socialize.
I think that's an interesting point that most people don't understand, that, the VA facilities are as much about socialization and interaction. And that's why the current crisis, if you will, has, hurt veterans in that sense, because they can't come to the canteen and hang out with their buddies or, what have you.
100% correct. I can't agree with you more with that. Yes.
Okay, we'll get into now how one becomes a VA policeman. And obviously we have
two different
because people are going to ask, do you have to be a veteran? Do you not? So how does somebody become a VA policeman? Do you have to have a law enforcement background? Does it help? Does it hurt? How do you become a VA cop?
Well, from my perspective, I was a police officer for 21 years in Providence. So I applied to the USA Jobs in order to become a police officer or any government job. I believe nowadays you have to go through USA Jobs. And Obviously, I'm not a veteran, but I'm marketable with my experience. But nowadays, civilians can apply for a position as a VA police officer. But what they take into account is any prior law enforcement experience, any education, or obviously military. And also Morris can speak to the military background aspect of it.
So I did 12 years as a military police officer. I actually did not know that the VA had a police department. I initially came it was a one-stop shop where I came back from a deployment. They spoke to me about getting involved, and one of the first things that I ran into was a VA police officer, and was not aware that they had it. Fun fact, I actually realized that one of the people that I had deployed with a few years back was actually a VA police officer here, and we were able to reconnect and whatnot. But I actually did not start in the VA police right away. VA police is a very competitive field. So when I initially came to the VA, I came here as a housekeeper.
Okay.
And I worked my way from housekeeper to dispatcher until eventually a position opened up where I took a police officer position. Yes, the aspect of knowing the military, the way that it works, the people that you'll encounter, the shared experiences that you go through is definitely a benefit. But I also believe that the civilian police departments are a greater benefit to the VA as well, because they bring in a different aspect, a different understanding. Officer McGregor, for one, has given me a lot of knowledge when it comes to civilian policing and the way that the law works. So understanding the veteran population is good, but you do not have to be a veteran to be a VA police officer.
Is there an age requirement? So, like, can you be too old to become a VA policeman, or how do they gauge, or is there anything?
I believe that it varies from station to station.
Okay.
I tell this to anyone that applies to any job in the VA to just apply for it and allow them to be the ones to tell you that you're not qualified.
Okay. No, that's a great point.
Yes.
We always talk about just throw your resume against the position and see what happens.
Yeah, because we sometimes count ourselves out before we even apply for a job, that we're not going to be able to make it. But I know that when I had gone through the academy, I have met people that were not educated in police and also had no background in police. But the interviewer saw potential in that person to be a benefit to their department. So anyone that's willing to try, I recommend trying. And USA Jobs is the way to go. And the best way to navigate the USA Jobs is to get with someone who's already a federal employee, because they'll be able to walk you through it, to partner with you to get that application through.
So I think one of the interesting point, though, you guys brought up, both of you came from an extensive policing background, whether it be military training or civilian training, but both of you had to go to the academy. So it wasn't like you just came on, you got the job, and you start on Friday. You both had to go again to another law enforcement academy. That's an interesting point.
I think it has to do with, like we said, the veteran-centered policing. They have so many different people from around the country now. So this academy in LETC trains everyone throughout the country. So in order to get some sort of unity and to go through policies, because all police academies are different. Right. Military police are different. They need to somehow unify the police department. So they have this 10-week. Right now it's 10 week. It could be 12 weeks, a short period from now. That's what we're hearing. But it's the only way to have one centralized police academy in order to kind of centralize the police department and instill the veteran-centered policing into everyone and all the policies and procedures, because each policies and procedures are different for each different department throughout the country and the military. So that's kind of a good way for the police department to kind of centralize everything and unify everything, so everyone's on the same page. So
when you go to the academy, you're an employee, so you're getting paid to be at the academy and stuff. Correct. Okay, because I know some police academies you're kind of, it's like a trial, it's like you don't really become an employee until you graduate type thing.
And you do serve a probationary period. Okay. But the probationary period starts from the day of hire. Okay. So if you are hired in January, but you don't go to the academy in April, well, the following January, your year is up.
So that's a great point. I didn't understand. So what do you do between January and April? What do they do with you here?
So you would partner with existing VA police officers, and they would kind of walk you through the lay of the land. Again, my benefit was that I was a housekeeper prior to being a VA police officer, so I already knew a good portion of my house just by walking it myself. But that's the time where you would understand your house, understand your facility, understand what you offer and what you bring. And it helps you to excel when you go into the academy. And like Officer McGregor said, standardization is the key when it comes to the academy, breaking some of the habits that you might have, whether a municipal cop or on the military side, so that we're all on the same page when it comes to veterans care, and also how we approach different situations.
What are the benefit differences are? I imagine between being paid by a city now being paid by the federal government, there's differences. What are the benefits better, good, not what?
Well, I was fortunate after 21 years to retire from Providence, and I will tell you this: the pay. I can only account for the Providence VA. The pay is very competitive with all other police departments within the state. That was an attraction for me, and the benefits were the same. And with any federal employee, you pay they match your TSP, and you also are into the pension system, which I believe you might be vested after 5 years. So that was attractive to me because of my age. I could still put 15, maybe 20 years in here with a very competitive wage, still very good benefits, and a decent retirement and decent TSP. So it was very attractive for me to retire from where I was at and come over to the VA with their competitive rates and competitive pay and benefits package. Yeah.
Now you're in a little bit different boat. I mean, you have the ability, maybe you have, maybe you haven't, but of buying back your military time to apply it now to your federal civil service time. So have you done that or thought about that?
So I'm actually in the process of doing that now. It's funny that you say that. I thought about that as well. Because for veterans like me who maybe got out prior to finishing or getting their retirement, joining the federal service allows you to purchase your time that you've spent in the military and apply it to your current situation. So that being said, it allows you to retire in the civilian field a lot sooner than so you're not wasting your military time. But yeah, it's a very, that in itself was very attractive to me, which makes me want to stay in federal service.
It's also good if you buy back your time, you get the extra leave. You accumulate your leave time faster.
Correct.
What else though? What other benefits did yes, the military has a similar plan as the thrift savings plan. Did all that? Were you able to roll that over?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
I was able to roll that over, and also because the VA is federal and it covers the country, it allows you to transition to different VAs. Let's just say if you got tired of being in Rhode Island and a position opened in sunny Florida, you could move to Florida. But joining the VA police allowed me to stay local where my wife's family is, where my family is, instead of in the military where I would travel to and fro wherever the Army needed me. So joining the VA police with military background allowed me to not only keep the time that I had already served, but allowed me to stay local with my family.
So guys, to finish up here then, I think what's important then is we've discussed a lot. You guys are very enthusiastic about what you do. So how rewarding is this career? How rewarding is this job? Are you happy you're doing what you're doing?
I'm extremely happy. For the last, I've been here 2 years, and it's extremely rewarding, especially when a veteran comes in crisis. You help him through with whatever, you get him whatever help he needs, either from medical staff or mental health staff, and then you see him 3-4 days later or a week later, and he comes walking in, and you recognize him, he recognizes you, and he says thank you for helping him out, or you just have a conversation with him and you help him through that crisis, and to see him back to his normal life again, it's extremely rewarding. And sometimes these veterans, they have this crisis repeatedly over the time you're here, and you help them through each and every time,
Yeah.
and they appreciate it. So that's rewarding for me. That's the rewarding part for me, is just to get to know these veterans on a daily basis by name, and it's great. It's really great.
So I take it personal, really, because I've gone through a lot of the same things that a lot of these veterans have.
Sure.
So I know that I was maybe 1 or 2 decisions away from being in the same shoes that they're in. And also I can see a lot of the guys that I've served with in those same situations, or have gone through those same situations. So when I see someone struggling, when I see someone going through a crisis or an issue, I want to be there for them, just as I would hope that someone would be there for me, because I know that if the roles were reversed, I would want that person there to partner with me, to come beside me, to help me through it, because we're not meant to do it alone. We're not meant to walk through it alone. There's a reason why there's the battle buddy system. There's a reason why we're not meant to go on patrols by ourselves, because it's better when there's 2. It's better when there's someone else coming alongside you, walking with you, walking you through it, talking you through it, and just being there to be support. And I believe as police officers here in the VA, we're meant to be support for the veteran as they're going through life.
Awesome. Well, Officer McGregor, Officer Morris, thank you so much for being here today. You guys have answered a lot of the questions that we receive, but also you've provided a lot of interesting information. And to anybody out there who's interested in becoming a VA police officer, as these 2 gentlemen talked about, please visit USA Jobs. That's the federal depository of all federal positions, and look into it. And for those who served or are currently serving, thank you for your service.
You have questions? We have answers. The SITREP is your trusted source for veterans benefits information, with expert analysis and interviews with leaders from the field. To find past shows, podcasts, and other content, search #TheSitRep on YouTube.